Good morning, everyone. I hope you can all hear me and see me well. Sorry, just a second then. Okay, you can hear me. Good. Great. I can also see some reactions, so thank you very much. I see that everybody is still joining, so I will wait for 2 minutes, let's say, before I start the webinar. So I am going to, in the meantime, share my screen so that everything is ready for the webinar, and then we will start in 2 minutes. Okay, so let's start the webinar now. I hope that everybody could already join or will be joining in the next couple of minutes. I started sharing my screen. I hope that everything is great and you can see it. So, sorry, just one more practicality. Okay, good. So I'm going to start the webinar now. First, welcome everybody to this webinar on the Eurostars Call 7 for applicants. And I'm Adriana Oros from the Eureka Secretariat, and I'm going to give you information on the Eurostars program, the application process, and the application platform. And just some practicalities before I begin talking about the actual content of the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, so after the webinar you will receive a link to access the recording, and you will also receive a PDF document from us, which is an FAQ document, so it will contain frequently asked questions by the applicants and the answers, so that also should be very useful for you. And the webinar will be around 1 hour and with approximately 45 minutes of presentation. And then in the end, we will have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please put them in the chat or in the questions. And then in the end, I will pick as many as I can and I will reply to them. So during the presentation, you can put them in the chat, and then we will get back to that in the end. So let's start with what are the topics that are going to be covered during this webinar. So first we will see the submission dates for this call. Then I'm going to give you an introduction on the Eurostars program. What is Eurostars? What are the projects like? Who can participate? The Eurostars eligibility criteria and also the funding. And then we will move on a little bit to the evaluation process and specifically one of the evaluation steps, the legal and financial viability check. And then as the last part of the presentation, I will give you a short overview of the application platform and the application form. So probably one of the most important information is when to apply. So the call opens on the 12th of July, which is this Friday, and it will be open the whole day on the 12th of July. So it opens between the 11 and 12 at midnight. And after that, you will have 2 months to apply until the 12th of September at 2 p.m. Brussels time. This is very important because on the last day, you don't have the entire day. So you only have until 2 p.m. Brussels time on the 12th of September. So please make sure that you keep this in mind and that you use the 2 months that you have for the preparation of your application and to submit it by the deadline, because you will not be able to submit after this deadline. So let's move on to now to an introduction to the Eurostars program. So Eurostars is part of the European Partnership on Innovative SMEs, and the partnership is co-funded by 37 Eureka countries and the European Union through Horizon Europe. And on the map here, you can see that in these 37 countries, the EU member states are included, but also it goes beyond the EU and Europe, and we have countries also from other parts of the world, but you will see the list of the Eureka countries also a bit later. And let's see what are the main characteristics of the Eurostars project. So first of all, they are collaborative and international, which means that at least 2 partners from 2 different countries need to participate in a Eurostars project. And second, they can be in any technological and market areas, because Eurostars has a bottom-up approach, which means that we don't run thematic calls, we don't focus on any specific technological or market areas, but any areas are welcome in Eurostars. And then Eurostars projects are also market-driven, which means that they must lead to a new product, process, or service that can be rapidly commercialized. And in the case of biotechnology, biomedical, or medical projects, the clinical trials must start rapidly after the end of the project. Also, to give you an idea on the number of participants and the total cost of Eurostars projects, on average, Eurostars project has 3 to 4 participants. As I mentioned in the slide before, minimum 2 participants need to be in a Eurostars project, but we don't have an upper limit, so it can be more than 4 even, but this is just the average. And then when it comes to the total cost of the project, we don't have a minimum or a maximum limit. So this number, this 1.4 million euros, is to give you an idea that this is the average total cost. But otherwise, please also check with your national funding bodies about the cost that you are foreseeing for your project. So who can participate in Eurostars? When it comes to types of organizations, all types of organizations can participate. However, Eurostars has a focus on SMEs. So SMEs will need to be the leaders of the projects, and the other types of organizations can join as partners. So SMEs will need to lead, but also large companies, research institutes, and universities or startups, for example, can participate in Eurostars projects. Then regarding the countries, both organizations based in Eurostars countries and organizations not based in Eurostars countries can participate in Eurostars projects. But the main difference is that organizations that are based in Eurostars countries will be eligible to receive funding, but organizations that are not based in Eurostars countries need to participate on a self-funding basis. And here on the screen, you can also see the 37 Eurostars countries, but you can also find this list on our website and in our eligibility guidelines. So as I mentioned already the eligibility guidelines, let's now move on to the 7 Eurostars eligibility criteria. All of these are equally important, and they all need to be fulfilled for your application to be eligible in the Eurostars program. The first eligibility criteria is that the project is led by an innovative SME from a Eurostars country. And so this has different components. So let's see all of them one by one. So in order for your organization to be considered an SME, you need to comply with the SME definition as laid out in the EU Recommendation 2003-361, which says that for your organization to be an SME, you need to have less than 250 persons employed, and have an annual turnover of less than or equal to 50 million euros, or a balance sheet total of less than or equal to 43 million euros. So this is the EU recommendations SME definition that you will have to comply with. But please also make sure, please also note that these ceilings and these figures only apply for individual firms. So if your firm is part of a larger group or is linked, then you may also need to include staff headcount, turnover, and balance sheet data from that other group. So for this, please also check the user guide to the SME definition, which you can see linked here, because that will help you with your calculation to make sure that your organization is considered as an SME. And then this SME needs to be innovative. So what does that mean in Eurostars? In Eurostars, for you to have an innovative SME, you need to have the ambition to collaborate on research and development and innovation with international partners to develop innovation that can be rapidly commercialized. So in Eurostars, what is important for us is that you have the ambition, and you don't need a proven track record of R&D activities. And then you saw the list of Eurostars countries in the slide before. So this SME needs to be also from a Eurostars country. Then the second criterion is that the consortium includes at least 2 entities that are independent of one another. Again, here I would like to mention our eligibility criteria guidelines, because you will be able to find more information on this and details that will be useful for you to decide if your organization is considered as independent or not. So please check that for also this criterion. And then the next one is on the consortium composition. So the project consortium needs to be composed of entities from at least 2 Eurostars countries, with at least 1 organization coming from an EU or a Horizon Europe associated country. So from the list of Eurostars countries that you have seen, except for Canada, Republic of Korea, Singapore, South Africa, and Switzerland, all of them are either EU member states or associated to Horizon Europe. And again, on this criterion, you also find examples of eligible and ineligible consortium compositions in our eligibility guidelines. So please check that and make sure that your consortium composition will be an eligible one. Then we also have 2 criteria regarding the budget. The first one is that the budget of the SMEs from Eurostars countries, excluding subcontracting, must be at least 50% of the total project budget. So here it's important to note that you will need to exclude the subcontracting from the budget of the SMEs, but not from the total project budget when you do the calculation. And also that subcontracting among project partners is not allowed. Again, in our eligibility guidelines, you will find a guide on how to calculate this criterion. And then the second one on the budget is that no single participant or country is responsible for more than 70% of the total project budget. And please also note here that here the subcontracting is included both in the participant budget and also in the total project budget. So please pay attention to this difference between the 2 criterion. And also on this, you will find the calculation guide in our eligibility guidelines. And then the project duration needs to be 36 months or less. And finally, the last criterion is that the project has an exclusively civilian purpose. This doesn't rule out the participation of military partners or the development of dual-use technologies, but the project needs to have a clear focus on civil applications. And for this, it's very important that you provide a correct answer to the related question in the application form, which is question 13, because the answer to this question is used to check the eligibility of your application regarding this criterion. And if your project has an exclusive focus on civil application, but you make a mistake and you give the wrong answer in the application, then your application then will be ineligible. So please pay attention to this when you are completing your application. And also, as I mentioned, all the 7 eligibility criteria are equally important and need to be fulfilled for the project, for the application to be eligible. And also, all of these criteria needs to be fully fulfilled from when you submit your application until you sign your consortium agreement, which is approximately 5 to 6 months later. And if there is any changes in your organization that would, or in any organizations in your consortium that would affect the eligibility of your application, then you will have to inform us about this during the evaluation. Let's move on to funding now. So who can receive Eurostars funding? As I mentioned before, both organizations based in Eurostars countries and not based in Eurostars countries can participate, but only Eurostars countries can receive Eurostars funding. So organizations based in Eurostars funding receive Eurostars funding from their countries. It is because Eurostars has a decentralized funding, which means that the participants don't receive funding from the Eureka Secretariat, so not from us, but from the national funding bodies. And each national funding body have independent rules on which type of organizations can be funded, which activities can be funded, and they also have different rules on funding rates and thresholds. So in this case, it's very important that all the partners in the consortium check with their own relevant national funding bodies in the countries where the organizations are based, because they will be able to give this information to you, and you will have to check with them if other than complying with the Eurostars eligibility criteria, you also comply with the national rules and criteria. Also, Eurostars funding will not cover all your project costs, so you must be able to fund the remaining cost yourself. And for Call 7, I would also like to note that no Eurostars funding is available for organizations based in Israel. And then in Italy, there are 2 national funding bodies, the MIMIT and the MUR. And there is no funding available through MIMIT, but there is funding available through MUR. So if you have an Italian organization, please take this into consideration, that there is funding available from MUR, but no funding from MIMIT. And then organizations that are not based in Eurostars countries will have to participate in Eurostars projects on a self-funding basis, which means that they will have to self-finance their participation in the project, and also need to upload a self-funding declaration. Let's move on to now the evaluation, and one of the most important evaluation steps is the legal and financial viability check, which is conducted at national level. So it is performed by the national funding bodies, and each national funding body performs this for all the organizations who applied in their from their countries. And with this, each organization individually goes through a check by the relevant national funding bodies. So if one or more organizations in the consortium do not pass this legal and financial viability check, then the entire project application will be rejected. So this is also one of the reasons why it is very important that you check with your national funding bodies, and that each organization in the consortium is aware of the rules and the criteria and everything that needs to be fulfilled also on national level, so that every organization will pass this check, and it will not make the project rejected because of that. So let's see what are the main points that are checked and verified during the legal and financial viability check by the national funding bodies. First, it is verified that the organization has provided a valid commitment and signature form as part of the application. This is a mandatory annex that you will have to upload in the application form, and it's also a legal document, so it needs to be signed by a legal representative of your organization. So because of this, please take time to get this signature and to get this document ready for you to upload before you submit your application, because it is an essential part of the application. Then also it is checked if the organization who declared itself an SME complies with the EU definition of SME. So again, please make sure that you understand this definition, and please check the EU recommendation and also the related user guide to make sure that you comply if you're an SME. Then it's also checked if the organization is a legal entity in the host country and that the organization has not been convicted for fraudulent behavior. Then if the organization is located in the European Union or the European Economic Area, that it is not undertaking in difficulty based on Commission regulation, or if it is located elsewhere, that it is not in a difficult financial situation that would make it ineligible for funding according to national regulations. Again, here you need to understand what does it mean to be undertaking difficulty or to be in a difficult financial situation. And you need to check with the national funding bodies about the national regulations as well, and also be aware of the Commission regulation related to this. Then it is also checked that the organization is compliant with the national rules to receive Eurostars public funding. And if it is not compliant, then the national funding bodies will inform the organization in question and request a self-funding declaration. So if your organization is found to be not compliant with the national regulations and rules, then you will still be able to participate in the project, but you will have to self-finance your participation, and that's why you will have to provide a self-funding declaration. And this is also why it is very important that you are aware of all the rules and make sure that your organization complies with them. And finally, it is also checked that the organization has the financial capacity to support their part of the project's cost. As I mentioned, Eurostars funding doesn't cover the whole project cost, so it's also checked that your organization is able to cover the rest. And the assessment of this will be based on national criteria established by each national funding body. So again, it's important to check these because they can differ from country to country. So let's have an overview of the evaluation process, which takes around 3 months, and it starts after the application deadline. So again, the application deadline is the 12th of September at 2 p.m. Brussels time. And first, the eligibility check of all the submitted application will be performed, and the results of this will be shared with you within 1 week of the application deadline. Then the eligible applications will go for the legal and financial viability check, which we just talked about, and the remote evaluation, which run parallelly. And the remote evaluation is the evaluation by 3 experts per application. Then from the applications that passed both the remote evaluation and the legal and financial viability check, the top 200 will progress to the next steps, which are the ethics review, which is the review of the ethical aspects of your proposal, and also the scientific review of the independent evaluation panel. And after these 2 steps, you will receive your results by early December 2024, and then the funding process will start. After which, by late December, you will know if your application was proposed for funding or not. And if it was proposed for funding, then you will be able to start working on your consortium agreement and you will have to submit it within 6 weeks from receiving your funding results. And once the consortium agreement is submitted, you can start your project at the date which was set in the consortium agreement. One more note before we move on to the application form and the application platform is the redress request. Because after each evaluation step result is communicated to you as an applicant, you have the possibility to submit a redress request to us. But it's very important to note that redress requests can only be submitted based on procedural grounds. So if, for example, there was a procedural mistake or irregularity during the eligibility check, the legal and financial viability check, or the evaluation of the project, or there were factual errors in the evaluation, or the eligibility check gave an incorrect result, then you can submit a redress request. But for example, if there is a disagreement on the opinion and the judgment of the remote expert, so you don't agree with their judgment and opinion, that is not considered as procedural mistake. So please make sure that you submit a redress request only on procedural grounds. For your redress request to be accepted as submitted, it needs to be sent to us by registered mail. And in addition to that, please also send us an email to applications@eurostars-eureka.eu, informing us that you are sending a redress request, and also please include a PDF version of the redress request in this email, because then we can start reading it as soon as possible and give you the answer and the decision as soon as we can. Please also note that the redress request must have a maximum length of 5,000 characters, including space. And if your redress request exceeds this limit, then we will only consider the reason contained in the first 5,000 characters in the review of the redress. So please also pay attention to this if it comes to submitting a redress request. Then let's move on to the application form now. The application form has 5 sections, and there is also a partner-specific section, which we will see when I'm showing you the platform. There are also 2 mandatory annexes to the application form. One of them is the commitment and signature form that I mentioned during the legal and financial viability check slide, because it is mandatory to upload for all organizations in the consortium. And then the other mandatory annex is the SME declaration, which is mandatory for all the SMEs in the consortium. Then there are also optional annexes to upload. There is the possibility to upload a Gantt chart and the technical annex, but please make sure that the technical annex is a maximum 10 pages, because you will not be able to upload a longer document than that. Then one very important part again of the application is the ethics self-assessment, which will be then checked during the ethics review of the applications during the evaluation. So the ethics self-assessment includes 2 parts. One is your reply to question 14 of the application form, where you will need to identify and list ethics issues that are raised by your project, and also tell us how you are going to address it. And then under this question, you will also have to upload an ethics issues table, which has 12 sections on the 12 ethics issues categories, and then you will have to identify which ones are raised by your proposal, and also indicate where in the application the relevant information can be found. And then the template for the ethics issues table, also the template for the SME declaration and the commitment and signature form can be found on our website in the Eurostars library. The application form also includes questions on sustainable development goal related impact and the integration of gender dimension into your scientific method. So please also take this into consideration when you are working on your application and drafting your replies. And if you are not familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals and the gender dimension, then here I also have some useful resources that you could check to help you with your application. And when it comes to ethics, we also have guidelines available on that on the website. So you have guidelines on how to complete your ethics assessment, ethics self-assessment. And then, as I mentioned, you also have the template for the ethics issues table. And you can also see your guidelines on the ethics appraisal process to get an idea on how the ethics review is going to be performed on your application. And then if you use AI technology, it's also useful to check the ethics guidelines for AI. And also in the application form under question 14, please describe the AI flow well for the experts to assess it later on. And also how you will deal with personal data during this. Some recommendations and important notes is that first, there is a Word version of the application form available on the Eureka website. So even though the platform is not open yet, you could already look at this Word version now to look at what kind of questions are there and start thinking about what you will put in the application. But please remember that you will have to apply online and submit your application online on the Eureka project management platform. And for this, please also start using it from an early stage, because you will need to familiarize yourself with the platform. And also, if you need any technical assistance, we need time to be able to respond and resolve it for you. So I'm going to move on to the application platform now that you will have to use to work on and submit your application, which is the Eureka Project Management Platform, and you can reach this on www.myeurekaproject.org. And once you access the application platform, you will see this page that you can see on the screen now, and then you will have to click on competitions listings under I want to create a new application to see the upcoming call, which you will have to choose from the list. It's going to be call 7. And then you will, after clicking on the call, you will have this green button, start a new application. And this is how you will be able to start your application. First, you will have to either log in if you already have an account or create a new account. And when you create a new account, please make sure that after that, you try and log in with the exact same way you have written your email address when you created your account, because the platform is case sensitive, so it's sensitive to capital letters. So if you put in you register to the platform, then you need to also do the same way when you are logging in afterwards for the platform to recognize your email address. So when you start the application, it's very important that only the leading SME can start the application. So the leading SME must register first, and then the other partners can be invited by the leading SME. So in this page, when you choose your organization type, it's always innovative SME. And as I mentioned, the leading SME can invite other partners, which you can do under the application team section in the application overview page. So if you click on that section, you will see 2 buttons. One is add the partner organization. So this is where the leading SME will be able to invite the other partners to the consortium. And then they will receive an email inviting them to register to the platform. And another option that you have under the application team section is to add several different people to organizations. Again, the same way, the people will receive an email inviting them to register to the platform. And this is a very useful feature also because the platform is collaborative. So several different organizations and several people from these organizations can work together on the application form, but the main partner will need to assign the questions to the other partners, as you can see on the screen here. From the main partner's view, everything will be assigned to them, and then they will be able to assign it to the other partners. There is just one part of the application form that is not assigned to the main partner because it's a partner-specific section, so each partner will have to fill that in for themselves, which is your project finances, but we will also get to that shortly. Then under each question, you also see tips in the platform about how to answer them, but please also keep a copy of the guidelines on how to complete an application next to you when you are filling in these questions, which contain further instructions and guidance for you. And please also keep an eye on the word count. In each section, there is a word limit, which you can see under the text box. Then when you are in a section, when you're answering a question, you will see two buttons. One is a green Save and Return to Application Overview button, and the other one is a Mark as Complete button. So if you save the section, then it means that your information that you put in there is saved, but then it will appear as incomplete on the application overview page. And then obviously you can always go and go back and edit it. And then if you click on Mark as Complete, this is then shown as complete on the application overview page. And in the end, all the sections will need to be marked as complete. So please make sure to do that in the end. And it's only the main partner who will be able to mark as complete each section. But even if you already mark a section as complete and then you still realize that you need to change something or there is a mistake, you can always go back and edit by clicking on the edit button before you submit the application. So either way, you will be able to edit the section, but in the end, you will have to have all the sections marked as complete. Then one of the main parts of the application is the work packages. Here it's also important to note that only the main partner can create or remove a work package, but as with the other sections, once this work package is created, the main partner can assign it to other partners as well to work on them. And then, as I mentioned, the Your Project Finances section in the application form is partner-specific, which means that each partner needs to complete this section for themselves individually. And first, under Your Project Cost, you will have to put your cost per each work package. So it's also linked to the work packages. And this is only possible after the work package has been marked as complete by the main partner. And anytime a work package is edited, then this Your Project Cost section will have to be completed again. So please pay attention to this and make sure that everything is completed in the end. And then in Your Financial Information section, you will have to put financial information for up to 2 financial years. If you are a startup, you can provide estimates. And then also here as well, it's very important that you check with your national funding bodies to see what is required from you regarding the financial information, and if you have to upload a financial annex, and then what needs to be included also in this financial annex. And then if you don't request Eurostars funding, you can upload a self-funding declaration in the application form under the Your Funding section. Also, as I mentioned, there are 2 mandatory annexes that you will have to upload to the application form. So each organization in the consortium must upload a commitment and signature form. And then for the SMEs in your consortium, it's also mandatory to upload an SME declaration. And for this, again, please make sure that you verify that your SME complies with the SME definition in the EU recommendation, and that you understand what it means, and and do the calculation well. Also, during the application process, at any time, you can run an automatic check to check the eligibility of your project. So there is this check eligibility button on the application overview page. And if you click on that, the platform will give you an overview of the 7 eligibility criteria and if they are fulfilled or not. But it's important to note here that even if one or more eligibility criteria are not fulfilled, the platform will still let you submit your application. And also, the platform uses the data that is available at the time you run this eligibility check and the data that is marked as complete at the time. So please also double check by other means, also by manual calculations when it comes to the budget, for example, that you fulfill the eligibility criteria and don't only rely on the automatic check. It's a very useful function, but please make sure that everything is double checked. And then, as I mentioned, all fields must be marked as complete for you to be able to submit the application, and this needs to be done by the main partner. So the main partner marks all the sections as complete, and then the main partner submits the application. So once all the information is correct, the main partner can submit, then they will also receive a confirmation that the application is submitted. And after the application is submitted, all the partners in the consortium will be able to access it and view it or print it. You will have to go to the dashboard in the application platform, and then you will be able to view it. You will see the screen that you can see now here. Very important information regarding the application is to please make sure that all the information is correct and there are no mistakes in your application before you submit it. Because after the submission, you can only edit the contact details and no other parts of the application can be edited. We also cannot edit it and cannot reopen it for you. So please make sure really to not have any mistakes or any problems with your application before the submission, because the only way that you could correct these mistakes would be to submit a new application. But for that, first of all, you have to be within the deadline. Second of all, you will have to inform us and email us at applications@eurostars-eureka.eu with the number and the title of your application. And then you will also have to submit a new application. So you will have to start from the beginning. You will have to copy paste all the information manually from your old application to the new application, and you will also have to upload all the annexes once more. So as you see, it takes time and effort, and you would have to make sure that you are still within the deadline. And that's why it's very important that we try and make sure that we don't have to do this and everything is correct before the submission. Then we also received this question many times, if you can submit a previous applications that was not successful. The answer is yes, but again, the same way as with the application that has had a mistake, you would have to reapply and start a new application, and then copy paste everything from your old application to this new one for this call, and also upload everything once again. Your application will also receive a new project ID number, and that is relevant for this call. And yes, this will be a new one. So before we move on to the Q&A session, very useful information for you, that if you have any questions that I will not answer now, you can always contact us at applications@eurostars-eureka.eu. And then, as I mentioned, please also contact your national funding bodies. If you have not already been in contact with them, you can use the contact form on the Eureka website. And you can contact them through this form. And then also there are the guidelines on the Eureka website. I mentioned some of them: eligibility guidelines, how to complete the application platform guidelines, ethics self-assessment guidelines. They are all there, and they are all very useful. So please also consult them during your application. And then you will also receive an FAQ document, but the same will be found also on the website. So this is the end of the presentation. Now I will let's take a 5-minute break. I will look at the questions that you have sent and gather them, and I will come back with hopefully as many replies as I can. So I will take off my camera and the microphone now, and then we will be back in 5 minutes. So see you in a bit. Okay, welcome back. I hope you can hear me and see me again well. So I looked at most of your questions and gathered them. So I'm going to try and answer to as much as I can now. And also some of them are asking about the same aspects of the program. So I hope that I will be able to give you useful answers. So first of all, there was a question asking if it's only possible for, is it possible for only one SME to attend the call? If an SME is one of the Eurostars countries and other Eurostars country partners, only the institute will be fine. I think, so this is about the consortium composition. So the SME needs to be the leading partner, which was also another question. So that also answers that an SME needs to lead the consortium, but any other type of organizations can also participate. So can be research institutes, startups, universities as well in the consortium as partners, but the leader needs to be an SME. So each consortium needs to have at least one SME, but other partners can be other types of organizations as well. So I hope that I could reply to this question with this. Then there were also some questions on if we have any data available about the projects that were funded. And yes, on the Eureka website, under About Us, there is this Eureka data section, and there you will be able to see a list of the projects that were funded in the 6 calls of Eurostars 3 that were already finalized. So you can get the data there. Then there were also some questions about the matchmaking and how to find partners. And there is, we don't provide matchmaking, but there is a platform available, which is a matchmaking tool available, which is the Enterprise Europe Network. If you are familiar with that, then you can use that. And also in the FAQ that will be shared with you, we have a link to this platform, so you can search for partners through this tool. But also, if you contact your national funding bodies, they might also be able to help you with this. So this is about the matchmaking and finding partners. Then there was a question on if clinical trials can be part of the project. Yes, definitely. About the funding, please check with your national funding bodies, because you will have to check what type of activities are funded in your country. So when it comes to Eurostars projects, definitely clinical trials can be part of the project, but to make sure that they are also eligible to get funding, please check with your national funding bodies as well. There was also a question on when will the platform open. So again, it opens on the 12th of July. So this Friday, you will have all day that day already to work on your application. And then it will be open for 2 months until the 12th of September at 2 p.m. Brussels time. Then also, just to repeat, because there was a question on that, the SME declaration is mandatory for the SMEs in the consortium. And the commitment and signature form is mandatory for all the organizations in the consortium. So SME declaration for all the organizations that consider themselves as an SME in the application form. And then there was also a question on the civilian purpose question in the application form. So again, the civilian purpose of your project is one of the eligibility criterion. And it is verified by your reply to question 13 of the application form, which asks if your project has an exclusively civilian purpose. And there you will have to make sure that you tick the right answer. First of all, you will have to make sure that your project has a civilian purpose, but also that you give the right answer to this question. Then also there were some questions on if one organization can participate in different projects, so multiple different projects. So The short answer is yes. The longer answer, with some important points, is that yes, you can participate in several different projects, but first of all, you will have to check with your national funding bodies, because you will have to see that you will have to inform them, first of all. Second of all, you will also have to check if the activities are going to be funded, and you will also need to pay attention that there is no double funding, so you're not doing the same activities in all of these projects, because then the same activities will not be able to be funded multiple times. And also check that, as I mentioned, which is also another question, so that we'll answer another thing, that Eurostars funding does not cover all the project costs. So you will also have to cover the rest of the costs for yourself. So if you participate, if your organization participates in several different projects, that you have to make sure that you can cover all the remaining project costs in all of these projects for yourself. So yes, short answer is yes. Long is that please take into consideration double funding, being capable of covering all the project costs, and checking with your national funding body. Then we also received some questions on the amount of funding. This is, again, a question for your national funding bodies, because, as I mentioned, each national funding body has different rules on the funding rates and thresholds as well. So it can be very different from one country to another, and one type of organization can receive a different kind of funding in one country than another. So please, if you have questions about the funding, first of all, you can go to our website, and there is a funding information for all the countries, but there is also the Contact Us button and the Contact Us form that I showed you on the last slide of the presentation, where you can contact the national funding bodies about this information. And yes, this is what you will need to do to get information on the funding. Then I understand applications need to involve at minimum 2 Eurostars countries. Is that correct? Yes, it is correct. So minimum 2 Eurostars countries, and at least one of them coming from an EU or a Horizon Europe associated country. This is the third eligibility criterion. So again, please check carefully the 7 eligibility criteria, and also the eligibility guidelines, where you can find also examples of consortium compositions. And then there was a question, what type of projects are funded? Are there any specific content or areas? As I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, Eurostars has a bottom-up approach, so we don't have a specific area that we prefer, or we don't run thematic calls. Any technological or market areas are welcome. There was also a question if the partners need to submit a separate application or one final application. So for us, through the platform, all the partners that are forming the consortium and working on the project together need to submit one application together. But please also check with your national funding bodies about this as well, because you might need to submit a separate application to your national funding bodies as well. But when it comes to Eurostars, all the consortium partners work together and submit one application. Again, also the application needs to be submitted on the Eureka project management platform. We don't accept any other means of submission, so use the platform and submit it through the platform, please. Yes, there is, as I mentioned, you can use our contact form to contact all the national funding bodies. And if you have any difficulties, you can also contact us, and then we will help you reach out to them as well. And yes, the project needs to be led by an innovative SME. I'm going to just see if we received any new ones, new questions since then, but I think I went through most of them. There was also a question on the TRL level. So the TRL level is not binding for eligibility in Eurostars, but normally Eurostars project starts from a TRL 4 and then by the end of the project, it is TRL 7. So what is important here is that you describe this in the relevant parts of the application, which will then be assessed by the experts, but it is not an eligibility criteria, and we don't have a very strict rule on this. Yes, again, the webinar recording will be available. It will be sent to you after this session, approximately 1 hour after, and you will also receive an FAQ document. But if you have any more questions, you can always contact us at the applications at eurostars-eureka.eu email address, and we will reply to you as soon as we can. And I will stop here, I think. I hope that I could answer to most of your questions and that the presentation was helpful and will be useful for you to work on your application. Again, platform opens this Friday. You will have 2 months to work on your application. Deadline is 12th of September at 2 p.m. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us at the Eureka Secretariat, and also questions about funding for the national funding bodies. So thank you very much for your participation, and I will close this webinar now. Have a nice rest of the day, and Friday the call opens. So thank you very much. Bye.